Hey guys, welcome back to Woods Tree Farm. I'm Phil, and we've got the Dyna Firewood processor here. This is something that we rented. We have it here for 3 days. This is my first full day that I'm going to operate it. The sun just popped up over the trees behind me. It's 8 in the morning. We're going to run this until at least 4 o'clock today, and we'll just see how much we can get done. I'm probably going to have to move the machine once during the day today because this is what I did yesterday. We'll be able to raise that conveyor up a little bit more and make this pile pretty big, but at some point we will shift the machine. So yesterday I ran the machine for, it was 2 hours on the meter. It was about 4 hours total, and that included me with doing a bunch of moving around with logs, and I was kind of slow figuring out the machine. Then we threw the chain off the bar once. That set me back a little bit. But before I left yesterday, I did load the log deck up with some logs, so it's ready to go. And over here, I'm kind of staging logs that need some chainsaw work before they go on the processor. So some of them have a real aggressive taper, some of them have some really big knots or a bend. And this one, for example, has this giant knot here, and I'm just going to cut it here, and we'll be able to run the rest of it through the processor. So I'm waiting until I get a bunch of logs for chainsaw work, and we'll do all those at once. And that one is actually too heavy for my tractor to lift, so it needs to get cut down, and it's got a big knot. So we'll just get, I don't know, 6 or 8 logs here, and once we get to that point, then we'll do the chainsaw work at once. And my goal today is, well, I want to do as much as possible, but at minimum I want to get rid of this pile that's down here by the fence. So I want this area clear because we got something else coming in that I need room for. So we'll work through all this. Unfortunately, this section has more smaller diameter logs in it than my other pile of logs. So that's going to slow down productivity a bit, but I need this cleared out, like I said, for another reason. And that's what we're going to focus on first. I assume we'll get through that at some point today, and we'll start moving to the logs that are on the other side of this area over here, which is a big pile of logs. There's a lot of wood here. I'm actually going to hop on the tractor and move some logs from that pile down closer to the fence. Since it's about 100 feet or so, maybe 150 feet from that pile to the processor, we'll save a little bit of time loading the deck if we can stage some logs a little closer. 11 o'clock. I've been out here since 8, so 3 hours work, but it was actually 2 hours of actual machine time, 2 hours, 2.25 maybe. So the time loading the machine takes away from operating it, and I am shutting off the machine while I'm loading it because I'm trying to kind of preserve the actual operation hours. If you're going to do this, you should try to have somebody else capable who can help you out with loading the machine and keeping things moving, because just doing this by myself, I can see the great deal of inefficiency that happens by having to jump from one activity to another. But I've got a pretty good pile of wood here. I'm going to bring the tractor around on this side and try to push some of this side of the pile out of the way so I can keep with the conveyor in this position for a little bit longer. I think I can go just a little bit higher with the conveyor. It's starting to get steep enough that occasionally a piece will tumble back down. We don't really want that happening, so keep an eye on it. But I'm not going to be able to go much higher, and I just want to build the pile here as big as I can before I have to move the machine. But I figured I'd show you how much kind of waste or byproduct there is from just 4 hours runtime. There is a pile of chips under that conveyor that needs to get moved because you don't want that stuff getting tangled up with the bottom of the conveyor when it's moving. So I need to work on that. And there is a pile of sawdust, at least a couple big wheelbarrows full of sawdust sitting there. And in hindsight, I probably should have gotten like an old tote bladder or something and sat it over here and tried to collect some of that, but I'm just going to push it downhill once we're all done with this anyway. I'm not too worried about it. And then all the extra like bark and twigs and junk that falls off the logs when you put them up on the log deck, there's a small pile there. And then this is all the cutoffs. I am going to go get a tote for the cutoffs because this pile is starting to get pretty good size. Still got a lot of logs to work through, and I don't feel like dealing with a massive pile of this stuff later. So if I can put it all in a tote, we can easily move it out of the way. So my pile got real big, and I just shifted the processor over and had a little wrench thrown in today, which limited my productivity a little bit. I almost accomplished what I set out to accomplish today, and I'll show you here in a second what's left of the pile that I showed you in the beginning. But there's an electrical issue with the Dyna. Somebody's going to come out and take a look at it tomorrow and hopefully get it working tomorrow. There's some rain in the forecast. I was really hoping to do more today. I missed out on about 3 hours of production because of the issue, but we'll make the most of it. So from that pile that I showed you this morning, I've got all this small stuff right here, 10 or 12 logs or so, and all of the big stuff that needs to be cut down, or maybe we can cut around some of the knots and whatnot. That all the big stuff is here, so we're ready to clean that up and load it on the processor as soon as it's working again. And then down here where the pile was, I think there's just a couple logs left. I started to put any of the logs that were kind of already dried out, you know, standing dead type logs. I put them over there rather than mixing them in the pile with the green wood. And there's 3 good logs here, another standing dead type log that I'll go over with the others, and then there's all the crooked, knotty, wacky stuff. There's actually just one random one here laying out in the middle, and then all the stuff that I'm choosing not to put on the processor I just threw over here out of the way. And all this stuff is just like bendy logs that I think will just be more trouble than they're worth in the processor. So there's 8 or 9 logs there, and other than that, we got through that big pile. I'm not sure how many cords that was. I think it might have been 5 or 6, and that's all we got through today. I was hoping to do at least 10, 12 cords, which would mean we'd work through all of what was over there and start to chip away at the other pile. Because of the electrical issue, the little instrumentation panel won't turn on. So I don't know where I'm at for hours and how many hours I consumed today, but I think I probably had about 4 hours on the machine, maybe 5 at the most. And I had 2 yesterday, so maybe that puts us up to 7. I have 24 hours total on my rental, so still got a lot of time left, and that's the good part. So I'm looking forward to what we can accomplish in the next couple days. I'll keep you guys posted, and hopefully this is an easy fix. We get back up and running and we can start working through all of that over there. I just swapped out the chain on the machine as well, filled a tank full of gas, And bar oil still in good shape. That's actually right down here. It's got a little indicator on. It's over half full, so don't need to add any bar oil yet, but I'll pick up a gallon or two and make sure I'm ready for when that needs to be refilled. And then in the next 2 days, weather permitting, we'll be putting a bunch of hours on this machine and blowing through a lot of wood. So thanks for checking in today, guys. I appreciate you. Catch you on the next video. Bye-bye.